Welcome into a Thursday edition of the Jordy Culotta Show, live here from the UDL, presented daily, just like it is every day, by Go Chevrolet, online at GEAUXchevrolet.com. 2 locations out in LaPlace with a brand new car selection that you can find. Also here in Baton Rouge on Sherwood Forest and Florida Boulevard for Go Express Auto Sales for a great selection of used cars over there. Daily, our coffee is brought to you by Majestic Coffee, DeliciousSips.com. Our water is provided by True Blue Water, TRUBluewater.com. And our spice, Papa Earl's Spice, you can pick it up locally. Calandro's, High Neighbor, Mathern's, Papa Earl's, and then, of course, all of our phone guests, Metropolitan Health Group, Billy Embody from Go 247. Get the latest on recruiting. It's a dead period right now, but some of the scrimmages start to pop up tonight in high school football, including Madison Prep is traveling down to New Orleans to take on Jesuit tonight. See if we can't have a presence at that game. I thought it was here. I thought it was in Baton Rouge.
That would have been much easier.
It would have been much easier.
To have a presence.
6:30 kickoff.
Yeah, let's go down there and come back for 5:30 in the morning. Quick turnaround, no big deal.
Yeah. But that's what. But right now is the time of the year where everything with high school football is starting to get on the field. Next week we will have jamborees, and then of course get into the football season. We will talk to Embody about some of the recruiting coming up here. We'll also talk to him about LSU and some of the things that Ed Ogeron said yesterday at the press conference, with some more banged-up offensive linemen for LSU. It could prohibit the way that they scrimmage this upcoming weekend.
Good
or
question.
Will they scrimmage?
Good question.
Yeah, it's a good question. Good question. Mr. Good Question. So Billy Embody will be here at 7:30. Jacques Doucet from WAFB will be here at 8 a.m. this morning as we set you up here on this Thursday and get you set. NFL football tonight, a lot of preseason action. Saints don't play again until Monday, as they will be in Jacksonville here for the crucial week 2 of the preseason with NFL games.
They couldn't just wait for Tebow. I just wanted to see that.
One time.
Let's have that.
But a lot of shock and surprise people in the NFL world after Tebow's cut. We weren't the only ones that were duped here in the in the sporting world. We had him on the final 53.
I had him in Canton.
Yeah.
Yeah, for what, 5 touchdowns?
When the over-under was 2.5, I had him at 5. Turns out he's just going to be doing TKOs on people in the wrestling ring. But I think they might have cut him right in time, because I don't think he wanted that smoke with Marcus Davenport, because Davenport's playing 4 quarters. So he would have had to run into Tebow, and he would have gotten embarrassed.
I wonder if this is the week that we see extended time for starters in the preseason, because if you recall, for the last season, it was always week 3 that would see extended time for your 1s and your 2s. But now that the preseason schedule has been trimmed to 3, only the Dallas Cowboys and the Pittsburgh Steelers will have 4 games because they were a part of the Canton Hall of Fame game. I wonder if this is the game where you really get your evaluations in for the GM and for the head coach to see really what you got for an extended amount of time. I don't know if you really have to change the way that you operate in the preseason because of the new schedule.
Well, people shit on the preseason that it was too long, but it turns out that it seems now it seems like it's too short. It kind of seems like we need those games to evaluate the talent, because now that just puts the first 4 games of the NFL regular season as kind of like a de facto preseason, because they don't know what they have yet. Like, they're making these cuts very rapidly. If you're Trevor Lawrence and the Jacksonville Jaguars, you're trying to figure out, like, what does he know? What does he know? It feels like he needs 4 preseason games. And also with that, the Saints are probably the most interesting team in the preseason, because they're doing a quarterback battle in front of your eyes.
No, they have a legitimate quarterback competition.
Deadlock.
That's as close of a quarterback competition I think that you can find in the NFL. It feels college-like.
Without a doubt.
When you
Trey Lance, Jimmy G would be the only.
I think he announced Jimmy G at the start of that.
But that makes sense, right?
It's easier to do that.
Trey Lance is the draft pick. Jimmy Garoppolo is the veteran. He's the guy that's been there. Right. He's got some experience. So, the story would be if Lance took his job. I think everybody expects Jimmy G to get a couple of weeks, just like the Andy Dalton story in Chicago.
Okay.
I expect him to start, but it looks like Justin Fields is putting a lot of pressure on that decision, right? he's going to be the guy at some point, it would feel like, early on this season. In New Orleans, you've got 2 veteran guys that are legitimately in a quarterback battle. I mean, like, it is every day, it seems like if you're following some of these guys, whether it's like Mike Triplett or Nick Underhill or Jeff Duncan on Twitter, guys that are having access to these practices, they are commenting and pointing out one day it's Taysom Hill making a play, the next day it's Jameis Winston making a play, a lot like the game was on Saturday night for New Orleans. I mean, a lot like that game versus Baltimore where you saw Taysom play and there were a lot of highs, there were a lot of lows, and then with Jameis, it was kind of the same story. There were highs and there were lows. I mean, it was, if you're grading it, if you're judging it, it felt like a draw. It felt like a tie. It didn't feel like there was
not a good tie.
Right.
It was a tie of almost like a comedy of errors. Whenever you saw something, you're just like, that's head scratching. And the more that I'm watching these two battle it out, the more I kind of miss Drew Brees, because he was just, even though he couldn't throw it 35 yards, but at least you knew what you were getting. It wasn't any of these like, why did you throw it there?
Yeah.
You know, what did you see that made you think you could do that? Because Drew Brees always, at least, I mean, he went in prepared and he knew exactly what he was looking at every time. Like, he probably made, like, you could probably count on one hand a season the amount of throws that he made that made you go, oh shit, he was looking at something that just wasn't there. But that happens to anybody.
Right.
But with Jameis and Taysom, it's 5 times a game. You're like, oh my God, that could have been a pick 6.
No, it definitely gives you respect, even more respect for what you've been watching the last 15 years. But I think everybody was really kind of gearing up for that towards the end of Brees. You had to realize that what you were watching was very much an outlying situation to that position. I mean, that is the most difficult position in sports, to be a pro quarterback or to be a quarterback. To me, I think just what you have to, just everything that you have to mentally take in, and then physically, obviously, the game is taxing. But at that level, the production that Drew Brees was giving back to the New Orleans Saints is just, it's so hard to even fathom or to expect that to be normal. I mean, he was a first ballot Hall of Famer. You know, I mean, he was a first ballot Hall of Famer. I mean, I think that's why we discussed last week that, I mean, to get that level of play combined with an offensive mind and a play caller like Sean Payton, and to only have one Super Bowl appearance and win in 15 seasons, I mean, it just, if those two can't do it a number of times, it's almost like, golly. I mean,
how hard it is.
Yeah, right. How do you get there? How do you do it if these two can't do it? I mean, for as high as they were playing, as good as they were playing for, a 6, 7, 8 year pace. Mm-hmm. Yes, I mean,
5,000 yards every season.
I mean, every year they would break their
own records. I mean, he's got the laminate piece of paper to show it. He got his school report back from the NFL, and they put a little sticker on it. Said, "Good job."
3 stars.
They just said, "Here's a piece of paper. Here's all your records." Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Was it the
Right.
Washington football team? They're like,
Thank you.
Like, we stopped the game for this.
Right.
Is there a chance that if this?
No way.
You already know what I'm gonna ask.
If he comes back,
if they're 2-4,
no
bad
no
quarterback
way,
play,
no.
Drew Brees starts to feel healthy.
No way.
He's
in the booth,
watching.
bro.
Yeah.
He's just doing this thing in the
he's-
living room.
I think he's in the booth.
He's
and
got
I
his
think-
receivers.
Making money.
I think that this was, that's what went into the last few seasons. He didn't want to get to this point where he could be drugged back into it. I think that he wanted to make the decision of, once I'm out of it, I'm gone.
Dude's
I think the
body's
only
broken.
thing
He's
that
never been gone.
the only
it's a
thing
different
that
feeling.
the only thing that would needle him, I think, is next year when contract discussions or negotiations are picking up between Aaron Rodgers and New Orleans, because there's a lot of people that will tell you last season he was done. Like, I'm talking about before last year, he was going to retire and walk away, and then within the football community, he caught wind that Sean Payton and Tom Brady were talking kind of behind the scenes of Brady was leaving New England. Saints were possibly in the quarterback market. If they were, that was going to be a landing spot that Brady was really going to think about. And I think Brees kind of in his own mind thought to himself, if Brady comes in here and wins a Super Bowl with my team the first year I'm retired, nobody's going to remember anything I've done for the last decade. this ain't happening. I'm going back for another season.
And then you can't say no to Drew Brees if he says,
exactly.
you have to make it. What a call you would have to make if Drew Brees says, hey, I want to come back. Like, actually, I got Tom on line 1.
Yeah,
so,
A-Rod.
Yeah, no, I mean, Tom Brady, for everything that I've heard, this is coming from Jay Glazer that I read, that he was coming to New Orleans.
Yes.
That was his first pick.
Right.
And if you have Tom Brady on that team last year, Super Bowl.
Well, I mean,
Super Bowl.
Beat you.
You can almost argue Brady on any of the top 5 rosters in the league would bring you a Super Bowl. I mean, think about where were the Bucks 8 games into the season? They weren't even in the playoffs.
Saints beat them twice.
Yeah, I mean, blew them out.
Smashed them.
Second game.
So, I mean,
yeah, second game. Oh, my God.
They come into was anybody hurt more by the COVID restrictions than the Saints having a home playoff game with nobody there?
No way.
Like, Tom Brady went into
rocking.
oh my God, if you've ever been to a Saints Monday night game, it is absolutely electric. A playoff game is where Saints make their hay in terms of, this is the Dome, baby. That's why we ain't changing the stadium, because you come in here,
Caesar's Palace.
It's 70,000 people of just liquor.
Sure.
Like, come get it. And they couldn't have that advantage. And Tom Brady diced you up.
With a known reputation of being a home field advantage. Like,
Probably
they
best.
love that. Right? I mean, you can feel the Dome is very prideful about that. They
come out, they start the Who Dat
they
chant
embrace
pregame.
it.
Like, they have everything going for you. I would say, Seattle and the Saints are probably
Green
the
Bay?
2 biggest.
Kansas City.
Kansas.
I've heard the Kansas City experience is almost college-like.
Yeah, decibel-wise.
Buffalo.
I'm sure. Pittsburgh. I mean, Pittsburgh, the way that they travel.
Yeah.
I mean,
damn towels.
I'll never. I mean, one of the most intimidating scenes I've ever seen was in the Dome when Antonio Brown a couple of years back just went nuts.
Nuclear.
Saints won the game, but Antonio Brown, it might have been his best game as a pro. I mean, it was
pretty crazy.
Me and Lil Jay were there. I mean, every time you looked up, he was scoring. It felt like Josh Reed in like one of those like Alabama or like the Peach Bowl or the Sugar Bowl. I mean, like, just every time you looked up, he was catching long touchdown passes.
185 for 2 tutties.
Bro, I mean, it was...
How many receptions?
That's what I'm looking for.
14 catches.
14 just
catches.
looking for
Oh,
him.
my God.
14. It was almost like backyard.
That might have been the game that he said, what are we doing here? I need to get paid. Like, you're giving me the ball 15 times.
Possibly.
Yeah.
That's
I mean, he was the
fantasy.
only reason why they were in the game. But the Dome, I mean, it was overtook by terrible towels. I could not believe, and I know that Pittsburgh has a reputation of like the best traveling franchise in the NFL. Like you can go to San Diego or Los Angeles, the Chargers games, and I mean, Pittsburgh's got more fans there than the Chargers do. But it was crazy to see, because that doesn't, you rarely see that in the NFL. You don't see traveling fan bases in Pittsburgh for sure.
What's the best traveling college football fan base?
Best
Kentucky
traveling
basketball.
No, I'm talking college football.
College football. Florida travels well. I mean, think about Florida's games in Baton Rouge, I mean, they're always pretty loud and proud when they get here. I'd imagine that LSU's probably got a pretty good reputation of traveling.
I don't know if it's a good reputation.
But just traveling.
Yeah.
I mean, of coming in. I mean, I know that some of the feedback that I've got on this Los Angeles trip, I mean, they're expecting nearly 20,000 LSU fans to pour into Los. Well, first off, this is the first opportunity that they've had in a long time. LSU's got high expectation to be pretty good this season.
No season last year.
This is an opener where, I mean, this is a hell of a draw. I mean, this is a heck of a, when you're just talking about planning out trips. I mean, if you're able to make this happen and get to Los Angeles and get to Pasadena, I mean, LSU's only done this one time. It was in the early 80s. It's something that you rarely see. I know for somebody like, a fan in my case, my son is 10 years old, and I'm looking forward to it more of making the trip for his experience and how he'll see it than I am really for mine. But that's the enjoyment that I'm putting into this, is that it's going to be something that he remembers forever, because I remember taking these types of trips when I was a kid. I mean, I remember going to Omaha when I was, for the first time, and thinking that it would be something like this for my son. I mean, it was something that you will always remember. I mean, the kickoff's at 5:30 Pacific Coast time. I mean, the sun's going to be setting
golden hour
behind the mountains. in just like the third quarter. I mean, it's going to be hopefully just one of those picturesque days in Southern California. Yeah, right. I mean, like, you know, Stingley and Butte and I mean Max Johnson and Ali Gay and BJ Ojolari.
Are they going to go? Do you think they go powder blues to LSU's whites?
For sure, absolutely. I mean, I think aesthetically it's going to be. I mean,
Pleasing.
it's going to be football porn.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it will be. It's just
dopamine, man.
The colors, the sunset, the West Coast, the Rose Bowl, Pasadena. Yes, I mean,
Did you see that?
Yes, I saw it.
Dude, if
I
he
love
takes
it.
one to the house, throw it out.
He's got his swagger back 100%. That picture
Yes.
sets
caption.
you up. Talk about porn. That
Do you
sets-
have that?
I can.
Yes, bring that up.
Get the
I got it
caption with
tattooed
it
on
if
my
you can.
back.
Bring that up for our viewers that may be watching on YouTube, Facebook, or JordyCulottaShow.com.
Do they go double gold
We
pants?
very much appreciate you being out there. Well, it's a different type of gold.
But still.
It's a different type of gold, but yeah, I mean, I think that you wear your traditional uniforms in this game, both teams. There's nothing.
Well, because USC does the home and home, they wear their reds, and UCLA wears their powder blues. So, I mean, LSU wouldn't wear. They're not going to wear purple because that would be. But I'm just wondering if they do something. They go all powder blue for the pants.
No way, bro.
No.
No way.
Okay.
No
Okay.
way.
Just wondering. I mean, it's confusing. if you've ever played backyard, like
they're
you're wearing
going-
the same shirt.
They're going
Yeah,
traditional. They're going traditional, and it's a different type of gold. And LSU's got their traditional whites. Traveling to UCLA, that's going to be in the powder blues with their gold tops. LSU's going to have their gold headgear. I mean, it's going to be
Confusing.
beautiful.
Everybody's good looking out here.
I mean, it is going to be fantastic. It's going to be great to hopefully be there. Now, I did see the latest come out of Los Angeles County, and stick around here. We're going to talk to Billy Embody in 10 minutes, and we'll talk more on the LSU offensive line as Coach Ed Ogeron met with the press yesterday and gave a little bit more insight to LSU being banged up front as he brought up another name of somebody who has been missing time and potentially could be out for a couple of days and couple of weeks here. So we will talk to Embody about how LSU moves forward. But I did see yesterday, we're out in Los Angeles. There is a new mask mandate in Los Angeles County that will require fans attending the LSU UCLA game at the Rose Bowl in Pasadena coming up on September 4th to wear a mask regardless of vaccination status. The new mandate is due to the rising COVID-19 cases over in Southern California. So there is a little bit of regulation that's being put on this game here.
Even outside, you'd have to wear it.
Yeah, even outside. With just over 3 weeks remaining before kickoff. So there is news in and around this game. Now, it is not the dire news that everybody is not holding out for, but just kind of nervously anticipating something that could be announced on the status of this game that would change it due to whether or not they would need vaccination status or negative test for COVID-19, which I believe is seems to be the trending regulation for these big events.
That's how it is for LSU. If you're not vaccinated, a monthly negative test.
To get into school.
Yeah, just go to school.
So if you don't, you can do virtual.
I would assume, yeah.
But that's the protocol is going to be that you have to provide a monthly test of negative.
Yeah.
It's pretty much just get the shot.
Can you just do that at the school infirmary? Can you just?
Yeah, they have
Infirmary. What is this, World War One? Oh, they got the gangrene.
What do you call it?
Chop
What do you call it now? The health center.
Infirmary. just light them on fire and kill them. It's over. My
but
grandpa
do you get
back
that-
when he was at LSU,
You
they
can
went
get-
to the infirmary and it was bad.
You can get the
Tinnitus.
vaccination at school.
You can what?
You can get the vaccination at school.
But can you get the COVID test? Can you take COVID
think
tests?
so.
at
Oh,
school?
yeah.
they still have
The
the
National
testing
Guard's
sites.
been there since, like, August. They just sit in the
National
union.
Guard in the infirmary.
There you go, bro. There you
I mean,
go.
COVID test isn't bad anymore. Remember the first time, like, when the COVID test was made and they shove it up your head?
Yeah.
Oh, my God, it was terrible.
Glad you finished that sentence.
What's the new test?
It's just they realized they don't have to shove it all the way up to your head. It's just a little swirl in your
Okay,
dick. It used
okay.
to be like 40 seconds.
Yeah, dude. The brain tickling.
It was a brain
was-
Then they realized,
It was
I still feel it.
It was a lobotomy through
I
the
mean,
nose.
I can still feel it. You know what I mean? Like, it's one of those, like, God, get out of me.
I don't think they knew how to test
Yeah,
it.
that's enough.
Sheesh.
But for good news though, guess who decided to start selling alcohol before LSU goes into the Rose Bowl?
Hopefully, UCLA.
Yes.
Yeah,
It would
well.
be their first game with alcohol for a college football game.
Hard liquor.
Good for you. Buckle up.
That's what I'm saying. You're
I
making
would-
a very rash decision.
It's a
here.
good business decision.
Oh yeah, drink out.
It is it'll be tough on the security. You know what I mean? I think that this is going. You better beef up security for this game if you're going to do this, because if this game is able to happen at full capacity, LSU is going to be there. Like, LSU is traveling. They are coming to South California, Southern California. They are going to the Rose Bowl, and they're coming in numbers and waves, and they're coming strong, and they're coming motivated. They're coming out after a season that they've had no road trips, no games, no, just no real anything to celebrate. I mean, this will be their first type of real celebration since the Natty, since the 2019 National Championship.
God.
In collection together. I mean, as far as the fan base being all together, this is going to be the first time that you really have them in one place, in one stadium. And, UCLA deciding to sell alcohol
It's a deal for the devil.
you're going to make a lot of money, but you're going to see a lot of sights.
I was at the Vanderbilt game.
Yes.
And it was 100%. People say that it wasn't, like, that it was overblown, that they were out of liquor. They weren't only out of liquor, they were out of everything. They were out of liquor at the bars in the morning. I saw them roll in the Bud Lights and all the beers like it was a Brinks truck. They had guards on all four corners when that beer was coming. I was at halftime trying to sneak in a little second half bet because Tigers kind of rolling. Let's get this over in,
Yeah,
Let's
right.
do that. We hit. But they had guards, with the beer rolling in like it was money.
Yeah.
Like it was a
But it
Brinks.
was.
Yeah,
I mean, it is.
It is. It was
Yeah,
currency
it's
at that
loot.
point. But they had people foaming at the mouth when they saw, like, okay, beer's back. It was.
Well, the whole city
people
was
The
dry.
lines were wrapped around, and this is like it's almost like a de facto reunion for LSU fans.
Yes.
Like, they haven't been able to get together. Let's throw a little party in California, get this season kicked off right.
I mean, I'm anticipating like the plane ride over for it to start there. I mean, like,
It's gonna dip down from
I mean,
beer
we're going to
cans.
be a chartered plane on Ramazan's deal on Mr. Fun's Travel of nothing but LSU fans taking off on that Thursday to Los Angeles. I mean, that plane is going to be swaying. I mean, it's going to be
Steamy.
rocking from the time it takes off to
Buckle your
the
seat
time
belt.
it lands. I mean, it's going to be a party in the air. I mean, it will be a 4-hour party over the western state of over the western states of America. I mean, it's going to be
How long is that flight?
wild. I mean, that's
Is it
3.5, 4 hour.
Oh, that's just enough time to just get
Yeah.
lubricated,
Yes, saucy.
sauced.
That's
I
stepping
mean,
out of that plane. You're stumbling.
I love that
And
it's
then the time change.
I love that it's an early flight because I think we take off at like 9 o'clock on Thursday morning in Baton Rouge and get there in LA like at 10 o'clock in the morning. Because you lose so much time, you gain the time back. So I mean,
that would mess with my head.
Yeah,
Sunset Boulevard is going to have purple and gold staggering drunks on that Thursday from Sunday.
Bourbon.
I mean,
What do you mean I
grabbing their
can't tip
nuts
this
and
out
screaming,
here?
"Go Tigers!"
Off the jump, off the
Just,
plane,
I
on the
mean,
tarmac.
I can't wait. I can't wait. I mean,
So the plane lands at 10 a.m. What time does the flight leave Louisiana? I'm sorry.
well, this is an official, but I think it's like an early Thursday morning flight where you leave at like 8:39. And you gain
Okay,
those
so you
2
have
hours
time
back.
to get your bearings straight.
Sure, but you gain those 2 hours back on
And
Pacific Coast time.
With
and I
drinking
mean,
involved in that, you time traveled.
You're
did.
You're back. Yeah, you did. You absolutely did. That's why that ride home is so bad. I mean,
Lose sleep.
you get home and you're 2 hours advanced in the time that you left, and
It just-
Monday gets here so fast.
You think about it, you're flying. There's going to be college kids that are piling in the car and driving. Because what would you do?
Yeah.
Didn't you say you made a late night trip to Tennessee
Yes,
one time?
absolutely. Still to this day, one of the best
Stimmied
trips.
out.
I mean, just
Where did
one
you
of the Knoxville.
For a game?
I mean, we left Tigerland and
Piled in.
loaded into one of my buddy's girlfriends. Had her parents
God.
Suburban.
Loaded into one of my buddy's girlfriends.
Suburban. Parents Suburban. And there, I mean, we were about 10 deep, 9 deep. I mean, we took the back 2 seats out of the Suburban, and pretty much were just. It looked like that. It looked like that naval flight coming home from Afghanistan. You know what I mean? Just people just bunched
Piled
into
in.
this thing, and I mean, you've got 12 hours, 13 hours of just
Muscle
driving
cramps.
in front of you, man.
And it's such a good idea until you hit about like the 4-hour mark.
or
where you're-
really in that situation when you leave so late, like an
1
hour and a
hour.
half in, you're like,
What are we doing?
What are we doing, bro? I mean, we're in the middle of nowhere right now.
Do we know how to get to Knoxville?
I mean,
Because you're in the era of maps.
Yes.
Like, they're like
Oh,
MapQuest.
Absolutely.
You had to Google how to get there.
I mean, it was paper.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, take
Take the-
55 north. Was that 55 north? I have no idea. I have
There's
idea.
Wait, what happens if you take the wrong exit?
There's no deviation from the plan,
man.
dude. You have to circle back.
You end up in
Because-
Oxford.
Yeah.
You know, not Nashville.
I got lost in Alabama in 2015 maybe. I had to go drop my buddy off. He was staying in Alabama, and Baton Rouge are more connected than you think. A lot of the New Orleans cats go from
Oh, yeah.
New Orleans to Tuscaloosa.
Sure. Well, it's easy to get in, bro.
Yeah, that exactly.
Yeah.
And it's easy. They have like a train to New Orleans so you can come back. It's a very easy thing to do. So he ended up staying at our place. We were at some seedy motel, and he comes back with us. But I have to bring him back in the morning, and phone's dead. He's giving me directions to his buddy's apartment, and I don't have the forethought on a Sunday morning, just hazy, to how am I going to get back with a dead phone? I don't have the directions. And there was an hour there, I'm not even in my own car, where I was lost in Tuscaloosa, and I said, I'm going to live here now. I had to roll my window down at a red light and be like, how do I get back to this place? He's like, oh, shit. Like, you got to do this, this, and this, and drove away. I was like,
oh no.
I live here now. I'm going to have to enroll at this school I don't
Lucky
like.
you, bro. It's a
I
beautiful
got-
community. It's
Maybe-
a beautiful
maybe-
town. They've
yeah,
reinvested. Man.
May have
If you
been
haven't
my-
seen the Riverwalk, it's great.
May have been my first panic attack. And I was just like, why am I feeling sweaty? And I'm lost. And I've made, by the grace of the Lord,
Yeah.
got me back to the seedy motel where they're eating chicken wings in the parking lot and throwing them out of their truck. That was the pregame on Saturday. And we walked out the door, and there was just like Alabama fans in the bed of their truck eating chicken wings and throw them on the concrete.
Same
And we
thing's
were
happened
just
to
like,
me.
this is going to be a hell of a day.
Hey there, old boy.
Hey, boy.
It happened to me.
That purple looks awfully funky.
Did you make a wrong turn?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
Yes.
Actually, I did there.
Can you help me?
Daily, we were brought to you by Go Chevrolet. Remember, online at GEAUXChevrolet.com. Get in touch with Go, whether it is right here in the Baton Rouge area. If you're looking for Go Express Auto Sales, they're in Florida and Sherwood. If you are looking for Go Chevrolet with new car selection, look out in LaPlace, Louisiana. All of that at GoChevrolet.com. We come back, we'll talk to Billy Embody. What questions do you have about this LSU football team? I feel like we've talked about every player, every position, but if you want to talk about it more, we can dive into it with Billy Embody, where he can talk recruiting. He can talk, obviously, this LSU depth chart and where they are in preparation going into UCLA. Lots that we can get to with Embody. Anything that you want to talk about, get it inside the bunker. We'll ask him next here on the Jordy Culotta Show, driven and powered by Go Chevrolet. Gearing up for spring and summer down here in South Louisiana, and you want to keep your lawn maintained during these sunny seasons, get in touch with our friend Blake Abear over at Abear's Lawn Maintenance, where he says, you grow it, I mow it. 225-485-8022. 225-485-8022 is where you can find Abear's Lawn and Maintenance, the official lawn and maintenance company of the undisclosed location. Papa Earl's, the fine spice, originating right down here in South Louisiana by our guy Mark Pop Norman. Developed it back in 2018 and won Amazon's Newcomer of the Year in 2019. They pride themselves in having 30% less salt and sodium than the leading brands at the same price point. You can find them locally. Look for Papa Earl's at Rouse's, Calandro's, Mathern's, High Neighbor, and more. True Blue Water, true hydration at its finest. Right now, you're only a few minutes away from getting your 5-gallon water delivered to you, just like we are over here at the UDL. All you got to do is log on to truebluewater.com. That's T-R-U, bluewater.com. The website's fantastic over at truebluewater.com. You can get your service and find out how quick it is. You can schedule a delivery, even hop on the billing system right there at truebluewater.com. T-R-U, bluewater.com. Go Chevrolet is proud to announce Go Express Auto Sales, the new used car lot located in the capital city of Baton Rouge, Louisiana, at 11522 Florida Boulevard. Go Express Auto Sales is online at goexpressautosales.com, or you can search them on Facebook and social media at Go Express Auto Sales, the newest addition to the family of Go Chevrolet. Remember, Go Chevrolet is located down in Laplace, Louisiana, but now welcoming aboard Go Express, the new used car lot located in Baton Rouge, Louisiana at 11522 Florida Boulevard. Go Flow IV and Spa, 7970 Jefferson Highway is where you can find them, or you can simply go online to goflowiv.com. GoFlow IV Spa is a medical spa that specializes in IV hydration with vitamin infusion. At GoFlow IV Spa, they can help you with a wide range of issues, from skin care to illness recovery, athletic performance, hangover cure, chronic illness, and even chronic dehydration. GoFlowIV.com, or stop in and see them, 7970 Jefferson Highway. Hebert's Specialty Meats, home to the finest boudin in South Louisiana. 2 spots right here in Baton Rouge and out in Prairieville. Stop in and see them in the Dutchtown Shopping Center on Highway 73, or right here in Baton Rouge on Jefferson Highway. Online, hebertsmarkets.com, and they're all over social media. You can find them on Facebook. You can find them on Instagram. Hebert's combines perfect seasoning with that authentic Cajun flavor. Find out for yourself. Baton Rouge on Jefferson Highway and in Prairieville on Highway 73. hebertsmarkets.com. Welcome back here to the Jordy Culotta Show, driven and powered by Go Chevrolet. Remember, daily we're brought to you by Hebert's Specialty Meats. Get in touch with the Hebert's online at hebertsmeats.com. They're located here in Baton Rouge and, of course, out in Prairieville on Highway 73. Check them out there as soon as you exit on the Dutchtown exit right there in the Dutchtown Shopping Center. You can find Hebert's Specialty Meats here in Jefferson Highway. Have great lunch specials with tremendous selections in the freezer. Our friend Hunter Picard the other day stopped in Gonzales, picked up a crawfish stuffed chicken with the deboned stuffed chicken with the crawfish stuffing, threw it in the oven. Next thing you know, you got 2 days of eats right there for you and the family. Very easy. Hebert's Specialty Meats, proud supporter here of the Jordy Culotta Show. Billy Embody covers recruiting, covers basketball, covers football, covers all of it for Go 247. Tremendous team over there with Go 247. You know that Shay is routinely here. We talked to Sonny Ship earlier this week. Sonny's over there with Go, and of course Billy Embody is there as well. You can follow him on Twitter at Billy Embody. They've also got a new hire over there. Matt Brune is doing really good work for Go 247. Bill, good morning. How are you, buddy?
Doing well, Jordy. How about you?
Doing good, man. Doing good.
I'm hungry after that read there.
I got you a gift card to A-Bears, so it's all good. A lot of people talking about Stingley and Eli Ricks. We heard from Eli Ricks yesterday for the first time since he's been at LSU. It was his first interview, I believe. They sat down with the press. Billy, you covered both of these guys in recruiting and have covered them throughout their first couple of seasons in Baton Rouge. What do you anticipate from these two guys on the corner this year?
Yeah, I mean, if both are healthy, which I think they will be, I mean, judging from what we've heard, and you just got to get these guys to game day. And you saw last year what Derek Stingley did when he pretty much played all year hurt, from what he told us at media days. He just struggled with this, struggled with that, and battled through it, and it was a tough year emotionally, and he still is one of, if not the best corner in the country. I mean, that's just who he is. Eli Ricks, same way. I mean, he's made plays start to finish, from the start of his high school career at Modern Day to when he went to, IMG, until now. And so it's really no surprise to see these guys doing what they've done in their careers. It's funny, we got to hear from Eli Ricks for the first time this week, like you said. The last time I talked to him was at the All-American Bowl in San Antonio, where he was sitting out. He had gotten that shoulder surgery or was about to get it, the one that kept him out of his first spring. And he was just so mature. I mean, knew going to LSU was, a decision that was all about getting him to the next level, working with Corey Raymond, who did a great job, on that recruitment. His family's all in there. He committed on Christmas. And actually I remember we didn't really get too much of a heads up that it was happening. I remember just, in your shorts, with your fam or whatever, and I'm sitting over there in the corner writing about, 5-star corner committing to LSU. So he's been on the radar just as long as, Derek Stingley has been with LSU. And just seeing them now get the opportunity to play together, I think it's going to be, and not that they didn't last year, but to really do it for one last go with Stingley heading off to the league after this year, it's going to be special. I think if they're both healthy, they're going to be elite.
I know you don't make a hire for individual players, but how much has Durante Jones and his background as an NFL defensive backs guy benefited this immediate crew for LSU, being that they're so talented in the defensive backfield?
Yeah, I think, first of all, we'll see what happens with Durante Jones as far as a play caller, as far as coordinating. That's something that I think you got to see on the field right away. And I do think he's going to be very good. And here's why. I mean, everyone I've talked to has just raved about how sharp he is. He's just got a tremendous mind for the game, and it makes sense with all the people that, signed off on him to Ed Ogeron while he was going through the process of, figuring out who the defensive coordinator is going to be. And once we all kind of dove into researching Durante Jones when he was the hire, you look at the people that signed off on him, and it's impressive. And from talking with different people, whether it be, players or coaches or whoever, they've been more than impressed with what he's brought to the table, just from being a defensive mind, connecting with the players. And I think that's so important these days, especially after the last year or so, not just at LSU, but just in general with everything going on. Being able to connect with players will get even more out of them for you. And he does that really, really well. As a recruiter, I think he's continuing to cut his teeth and get back into that side of things. But his connections and how he connects with players is always a positive. And that's what stands out about him to me so far. And just the way he thinks the game in the meeting rooms is something that I've heard has been really impressive. So I think it's going to turn out to be a terrific hire. It was, under the radar. It obviously was a long, winding road to get to Durante Jones, but I mean, it's the spring and summer buzz, but it really has been positive around him.
You mentioned Durante Jones, and this same question goes for Jake Peets. I think this has kind of gone under the radar, but neither one of these coaches has called plays in a game. Is there any concern from that front where then when the bullets start flying and the game gets live that they might, I don't want to say lock up, but that there might be a learning curve in that regard?
I think there is a little bit of a learning curve, just more so from getting into the flow of the game and balancing, the analytics of, especially offensively, with analytics being such a big part of that now, balancing the analytics part of play calling versus, being in the flow of a game and adjusting and making tweaks. And I mean, look, Joe Brady, never called a play in his life before he got to LSU and called the majority of the plays. And I think, he did a terrific job of that, obviously. And Jake Peets, spent a year under him in Carolina and brought back a lot of the things that, Joe Brady did. And he has DJ Mangus, who is Joe Brady's right-hand guy. And Joe Brady made adjustments on the fly. I mean, there are plays that you can look back at, and I'd really have to jog memory to get back to 2019 all of a sudden. But you go back to some of those plays in particular games where they just kind of teed them up all game. Teed them up. The zone read against Alabama when Burrow pulled it stands out to me. They just kind of teed up some of those plays all game in the passing game too, and in other situations. And if you talk to Joe after the game, he'll tell you, "Yep, we were just kind of waiting, teeing that one up." And that's the key. That's key to being a good play caller. Some things might not make sense maybe as you're watching them in the game, but then when you look back and they hit the big one, or they hit the big 2 or 3 or 4 big plays like we saw in 2019 that they seem to do every game, that's where it stands out as far as being a play caller. So I think there's concern, but they do have a chance, once they get past UCLA, to kind of settle in and really get their routine and their flow and their communication down too.
Still, to me, the most beautiful play call of 2019. Third quarter, Alabama. Burrow fakes the give to Edwards-Helaire, fakes the quarterback draw that he had run effectively up to that point, pulls it, stands up straight, and hits Jamar Chase on that little skinny post where he gains and flips the field after Alabama had kind of robbed the momentum of LSU in the third quarter. That was one of the most beautiful play calls I've ever seen, and timely.
Only ran it once.
Timely play calls. Billy Embody. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And those were things that we didn't, see. I mean, you saw a lot of RPO in that 2019 season, and we're going to see a lot of it again this year. But, having the little nuances of that offense where I think, obviously they're, elite players all over the place on that offense, but the little nuances like that, the fake, quarterback run into a pass and doing those things where, it wasn't necessarily on tape all the time, and defenses kind of forgot about it. Forgot about Clyde Edwards-Helaire running the wheel, at the end of that half for the touchdown. Little things that they kind of kept in their back pocket, I think, is what we're going to see more so with this offense that we saw in 2020.
Gerald Jr. wants to know, who's watching on YouTube here on the Jordy Culotta Show channel, make sure that you are subscribed today, like, share, comment on the post. We appreciate that. Gerald has a question for Billy Embody in recruiting. Gerald asks, ask Billy his opinion on where Harold Perkins ends up.
Oh, Harold Perkins.
5-star linebacker. Yes.
5-star linebacker, the number 1 linebacker in the country out of Cy Park in Texas. I will say he's probably a coin flip right now between LSU and Texas A&M. I know Texas is continuing to try and stay in the race there, but I do think it's an LSU-Texas A&M race at this point. And with a guy like him at this stage, if he's going to continue to drag it out, I would just call it a coin flip between the two right now. But he's been to both places about as much as you could want in the offseason. He even camped at LSU, which is a great sign, worked out with Blake Baker. So he got a chance to work with him in person. He's from New Orleans. He spends a lot of time in New Orleans training. He's somebody, honestly, that I could see at LSU, and I could see at Texas A&M.
Michael Chereen wants to know, ask Billy, because of the offensive line depth and the hits that they've taken over the past couple of days, would any of the defensive linemen be able to cross-train on the offensive line?
I think you could see some guys that could do that, but I don't see that happening. Joe Evans and Joe Evans would be the one I guess you would circle just from the standpoint of he's done it. He's played offensive line, but I think he's a guy that's going to start for LSU. So I would be surprised if any of those guys can switch over and do it right now at this stage in camp. I think they're going to get Garrett Dellinger back at a reasonable time where he can still be in the rotation if guys go down during the season. Anthony Bradford will get back in the mix. Chason Hines, they want to get him healthy. I don't think you do anything too drastic right now as far as moving guys over, and I don't really think there's too many guys outside of Joe Evans who could flip over and do it, especially now that Eric Taylor entered the transfer portal. He was one that I had heard they at least discussed moving him to the offensive line, and he ended up just transferring out.
Coach O has made a lot of talk about the linebacker room and how they're almost 4 deep and they can almost pit crew these people in and out. Where do you see Mike Jones fitting in? Because he came in as a pretty heralded transfer portal guy, and it seems like they tried to shoehorn him in at middle linebacker, but he's one of these guys that you want to get out in space and let run with receivers. Do you know what exactly the plan is with Mike Jones? Because he seems to be too good to keep off the field.
Yeah, Mike Jones Jr. I think is just finding his way. He transferred in from Clemson. He's a smart guy. We talked to him earlier in camp, and he seems to be, in the right, mindset. And he comes from a program that obviously is used to winning as well, and they've built something really well under, Coach Venables there defensively, and so he's been coached well. But I think right now, Micah Baskerville and Damone Clark are really staking the claim to start together, and Mike Jones just needs a little bit more time. Bug Strong needs a little bit more time. Jared Small has had a tremendous camp, and so he's making an even bigger name for himself that he's built off of the spring. And I think we'll see him on the field. They do want to rotate guys a little bit, and they'll get his feet wet, and he's versatile. He wants to play in the box, but can also play in space. He played kind of Clemson's, do-it-all linebacker spot in Venables' defense, but right now, I just think he's continuing to kind of grasp things and adjust, and so I think he's somebody you're going to see in the rotation. Might not start right now.
Brandon Dixon wants to know, ask Billy about how's Pig Cage coming along?
Pig Cage is making some plays. I mean, I think with the safety spot, you're going to see Major Burns and Jay Ward back there is my bet. Todd Harris is going to play. That safety room is kind of all of a sudden filled with some depth. They've got Derek Davis Jr. had a real strong day last week. Jordan Tolles is in there. You've got Sage Ryan, Matthew Langlaw, all those guys. But, Pig Cage is a newcomer as well. So he's adjusting, but I heard he made some plays in camp that, certainly makes him look like one of the better walk-on guys that they brought in.
You mentioned the secondary and how they're that safety has turned into almost a position of strength. It makes me wonder, do you know what kind of a defense LSU is going to run out there? It doesn't seem to be the standard 4-3 when you talk about the linebackers and the amount of corners that they want to put on the field. Is there some sort of strategy there? Do you see like a 4-2-5, or is it going to be, kind of a mixed exotic scheme?
Yeah, I for sure. I think it's going to be a mixed scheme. You've got, college football offenses that are just running out receivers left and right, and that's something that you gotta bring corners with. And so I think they're going to be in nickel a lot. I think most defenses these days are playing that so much just because of the way offenses are. So I think you see Damone Clark, Micah Baskerville as the main linebackers, at least to start off, and then they'll kind of tweak things and see how things go. You'll have Stingley and Eli Ricks. You'll have Ward and Burns, and then Flott. And then, you want to see somebody emerge in the secondary as another playmaker that they could roll out there and, give some guys some snaps off and not have much of a drop-off.
What do you think the potential is for Cole Taylor this year? I've seen him at practice almost every single day. The kid can play. He looks great. I know we all kind of get lost in the hype of the Jack Besh hybrid. We fall victim to that here, too. Kid can ball, but what do you think about Cole Taylor?
Yeah, I think Cole Taylor is he kind of reminds me a little bit of Foster Moreau, just being how big he is physically. I mean, he is a big dude. I think Foster's a little quicker than him, and Cole is still adjusting. And you got to remember, he is just a sophomore. It's kind of wild to think about when he's now down in LSU lore, basically with the shoe at Florida, but it's still just wild to think about. But he really is just somebody that I think is continuing to develop and come on. And you kind of heard Ed Ogeron talk about it a little bit last night, where he was saying how just still adjusting to that physicality. He's still a young kid. He's not necessarily the best pass catcher on the team, but he's going to be out there. He's the starter. And yeah, you're right. He probably gets lost in the Jack Besh hype a little bit, who can catch the ball really well, make plays in the passing game, but who on the flip side, probably isn't going to be out there, as much, as a blocker, like being out there specifically to block. So, Cole Taylor brings something, I think, that's unique in the sense that he is so big. He is a huge target. He's got a big wingspan, but he's just got to, continue to just get better. I mean, he's just still so young and came up from a real small high school in the middle of nowhere, Colorado, and despite being attached to one of the most unique plays in LSU history, he's still a sophomore and still developing.
Billy, which one of these freshman wide receivers do you think plays first, and how talented of a group is this when you've now been able to see them on the field combined? Now, we've seen all the stars in recruiting, but now you see them in one drill together, and it's tough to pick out the one that's the best.
Yeah, it's tough to pick out the one that's the best, but I'm gonna say Brian Thomas Jr. is your first one that's off the bench or in the starting lineup, depending on how the rest of camp goes. Out of the freshmen, he's been too tough to guard, too athletic, too big. He brings that unique size that really a lot of the receiver room doesn't have this year, and he's earned it. He's somebody that came up as a junior and was dominant and rose up the recruiting rankings, and then as a senior, I think he had a little bit of tough luck with his situation quarterback wise at Walker and just not being able to be as targeted and things like that. And so he kind of flew under the radar as a recruit because he took his process out pretty far and instead, did that and then turned around and is making waves in fall camp. And he's been, everything we saw on his junior tape, that's what Brian Thomas Jr. has been in fall camp at LSU. So he's making a push to start. I think you look at the entire group and you got to see big things. Deion Smith, if he puts it all together, is going to be special. Chris Hilton is as explosive as an athlete as they probably have on the entire team. Malik Neighbors is as competitive as it gets. He can really, really, I think, despite being like a top 150 recruit, despite not playing his senior year of high school, he is flying under the radar because he didn't have that senior year. But gosh, he looks the part physically. He's competitive, athletically. He's one of the best, I think. So this whole group, it's special. It's I'm not going to tag it as Jamar Chase and Terrace Marshall, and those are just two of those guys. But it's a special group that really should hold LSU's passing game, not only together, but allow it to be one of the better ones in the SEC for the next couple of years.
You mentioned this freshman recruiting class, and it makes me think that A&M has kind of found their foothold in recruiting. It seems like LSU and A&M are going head-to-head for a lot of these battles. Has Jimbo finally found a little bit of his stride there at Texas A&M? Is that a power that LSU should be concerned with, not only on the recruiting front, but also when it comes to their day-in and day-out matchup every year?
Yeah, they are recruiting very well. They actually just landed one of the best tight ends in the country in the 2023 recruiting class. 2023, yes, 2023. And so they got him on board, Theodore Orstrom, who LSU was recruiting and had on campus. They really are starting to pick up steam for a lot of these guys early on in 2023 and 2022. They've been, starting to get rolling as well. They've got a top 10 recruiting class. They've got one of the best quarterbacks in the country. They've got Bryce Anderson, who they beat out Texas for. They've got Malik Sila, who's one of the best defenders out of Katy. The thing for Texas A&M, is it seems like just being able to recruit quality offensive linemen, because they seem to kind of start, strong for some, and then, they don't necessarily finish as well. And that's where it's won in the SEC. There's, Damon Demas is a 5-star that they signed last cycle, or maybe the cycle before, and he hasn't done too much. So development is, going to be something that people are going to want to see from some of these position groups that they're recruiting very well right now, but haven't really had too much to show for it. It's still only August. So if you look at like the crystal ball and things like that, Harold Perkins is crystal ball there. They are more than in the mix for some of these other prospects that are, also being recruited by LSU and others, but they've also got to finish. They can't just, it's crystal balls are great, and we've seen this, but from LSU time to time, you get crystal balls, and everybody thinks things are going really well. But at the end of the day, where you finish is far more important than momentum in the summer. And A&M is recruiting really well right now, but they've also got to end up with this class that they have right now.
Billy Embody covers recruiting, covers football, basketball, 247 Sports. Great follow on Twitter at Billy Embody. Last one, I get you out of here. LSU basketball top 10 preseason going into the year, in your opinion?
In my poll, or do they in my poll?
Yes.
I don't know if I would slot them in the top 10, but I would slot them in the top 15. I mean, everything I heard this summer, if this team can stay healthy, I mean, Efton Reed is a dude. I mean, he's going to be fun to watch. Adam Miller, Xavier Pinson, even Eric Gaines is making a lot of strides. I think they could very well be adding one of their 2022 commits here into the 2021 class.
Ooh, man.
So we'll see.
Say it.
Give me a name.
Yeah.
Say his name.
We'll see if you guys don't tweet it out. But yeah, don't tweet it out. But I would think Justice Williams has a chance to reclassify and end up at LSU's campus. We've been hearing that for a couple weeks, and time's ticking on that one. But that's something that we've heard. So we'll see if they can get him in, and he's a versatile guard that could provide something. So don't tweet that out. But for those listening to the show, I do think there's a chance that he ends up on campus.
Bill, have a great weekend. Thank you for the information this morning. We'll see you, man.
All right, fellas. Have a good one.
All right. There is Billy Embody checking in this morning, talking a little LSU football, recruiting, basketball.
Little nugget.
Yeah.
Take that.
Talk about peer pressure.
We did it.
He folded to that.
He did. Give us a name.
Give us do it.
We don't
Say
like
the
you.
name.
Justice Williams coming to LSU by.
Don't tweet that, please.
It's
Twice.
just a live radio show.
Twice.
I mean, does he know for live?
Twice.
It's out
he
there.
did.
What's the difference?
I don't think he knows.
One 25-second answer had two do not tweets, please. Don't tweets.
And then you'll get one on the back end.
Yeah.
Like we've had before, like, hey, don't tweet that out. I didn't mean to say that.
Daily, we were brought to you
Aaron
here
Rodgers one.
by
Just buried that. But are you sure we can't? It's
Edward
good.
Jones. Edward Jones brings you the Jordy Culotta Show. Remember, Daniel Newman, Daniel.Newman. Anytime we talk basketball, it reminds me of Daniel Newman. The guy's a total hoop head. You can go out there and talk basketball with him, or just get some financial strategy from him. Get some financial advice. Let him do it for you. He's done it for us. He's great in that field. He's got so much experience in working with people within the plant industry. You can get in touch with him online at daniel.newman at edwardjones.com is where you can email him. Daniel.Newman at edwardjones.com. Send the email over there and get in touch with Daniel and let him be your financial advisor today here. And also tell him you heard it here on the Jordy Culotta Show. When we come back, we'll talk to Jacques Doucet of WAFB. Talk to him more about some of the LSU stuff, some Saints stuff, the summer of covering the Manning Passing Academy and getting geared up for an LSU football season. We'll get his thoughts on the basketball program and lots more when we return here on the Jordy Culotta Show, driven and powered by Go Chevrolet. Papa Earl's, the fine spice, originating right down here in South Louisiana by our guy Mark Pop Norman. Developed it back in 2018 and won Amazon's Newcomer of the Year in 2019. They pride themselves in having 30% less salt and sodium than the leading brands at the same price point. You can find them locally. Look for Papa Earl's at Rouse's, Calandro's, Mathern's, High Neighbor, and more. Gearing up for spring and summer down here in South Louisiana, and you want to keep your lawn maintained during these sunny seasons, get in touch with our friend Blake Abear over at Abear's Lawn Maintenance, where he says, you grow it, I mow it. 225-485-8022. 225-485-8022 is where you can find Abear's Lawn and Maintenance, the official lawn and maintenance company of the undisclosed location. Abear's Specialty Meats, home to the finest boudin in South Louisiana. 2 spots right here in Baton Rouge and out in Prairieville. Stop in and see them in the Dutchtown Shopping Center on Highway 73 or right here in Baton Rouge on Jefferson Highway. Online, abearsmarkets.com, and they're all over social media. You can find them on Facebook. You can find them on Instagram. Hebert's combines perfect seasoning with that authentic Cajun flavor. Find out for yourself. Baton Rouge on Jefferson Highway and in Prairieville on Highway 73. Hebert'sMarkets.com. GoFlow IV and Spa, 7970 Jefferson Highway is where you can find them, or you can simply go online to GoFlowIV.com. GoFlow IV Spa is a medical spa that specializes in IV hydration with vitamin infusion. At GoFlow IV Spa, they can help you with a wide range of issues, from skin care to illness recovery, athletic performance, hangover cure, chronic illness, and even chronic dehydration. GoFlowIV.com or stop in and see them, 7970 Jefferson Highway. True Blue Water, true hydration at its finest. Right now, you're only a few minutes away from getting your 5-gallon water delivered to you, just like we are over here at the UDL. All you got to do is log on to truebluewater.com. That's TRU, bluewater.com. The website's fantastic over at truebluewater.com. You can get your service and find out how quick it is. You can schedule a delivery, even hop on the billing system right there at truebluewater.com. TRU, bluewater.com. Hebert's Specialty Meats, home to the finest boudin in South Louisiana. 2 spots right here in Baton Rouge and out in Prairieville. Stop in and see them in the Dutchtown Shopping Center on Highway 73 or right here in Baton Rouge on Jefferson Highway. Online, Hebert'sMarkets.com, and they're all over social media. You can find them on Facebook. You can find them on Instagram. Hebert's combines perfect seasoning with that authentic Cajun flavor. Find out for yourself. Baton Rouge on Jefferson Highway and in Prairieville on Highway 73. Hebert'sMarkets.com. Welcome back here to a Thursday edition of the Jordy Culotta Show, live here in the UDL, presented every day by Go Chevrolet. Stop in and check out Go Chevrolet's selections, whether it's down in LaPlace or over on Sherwood Forest and Florida Boulevard for their used car lot. Go Express Auto Sales, also daily brought to you by RMB Builders. Our friend Rhett Bourgeois over at RMB Builders brings back all of our podcasts, so anything you may have missed, like Billy Embody, 25 minutes with Billy there, breaking down football, a little bit of basketball, and some recruiting.
Hey, he said we can't tweet it, but we will podcast it.
Great information from Billy over at Go247. That'll be a part of today's podcast. It's brought back to you by RMB Builders. And then our next guest, Jacques Doucet, longtime sports anchor over at WAFB, and then, of course, the host of Jacques Talk on YouTube, on the WAFB YouTube page. Great conversations and great insight from our friend Jacques over there. He's also the president and CEO of Red Rock and Blue, which is probably the best charity event that our state provides. I mean, I would think that from a giving back and annual event, Red Rock and Blue brings as much notoriety to our state as any other event. It is a pleasure to welcome aboard here Jacques Doucet to the conversation. JD, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. I'm having a hard time living up to that intro, but I appreciate it, man. Ooh, okay.
The best. Let's start with Red Rock and Blue. Pandemic and more COVID restrictions starting to pop up. What is it like trying to run an event like that in the environment of which we operate in this world today?
Well, the celebrity game has kind of been a casualty. Typically, that takes months to put together. I typically start trying to get people committed like in February or March for an event that's in June or July. And so I don't think the state opened up really until late May. So there was really no chance of doing that. And as we see right now, we're still dealing with stuff. But our softball tournament continues. We had a ton of teams come out, and we were able to have a concert at the Texas Club where a bunch of bands donated their time. And it's amazing how a concert that draws 200 or 300 people and raise $8,000 in a concert that draws 1,000 people can lose money depending on what you're paying the band. So when people donate their time, it's a win-win. So we had a great summer.
Jacques Doucet, who you can follow on Twitter and keep up with everything that's popping on Red Rock and Blue. Also everything that's coming up on Jacques Talk, and great coverage of LSU sports and New Orleans Saints. LSU, big storyline of the off season was obviously this quarterback battle, and we haven't had a chance to talk to you since the injury for Miles Brennan. What do you think that has done for this quarterback competition now that Brennan is on the shelf for seemingly until mid-season here, and now giving Max Johnson the starting title? Well, now you have a true freshman in Garrett Nussmeier as the backup.
Well, I know you visited with Max's father, Brad, on several occasions, a guy who was in the NFL for 17 years, won a Super Bowl. I don't think that Max, with a dad like that, is ever going to think he's arrived or, get full of himself. I think he's going to remain grounded. It does make you nervous to an extent because I asked Coach O last night about a timetable for Brennan, and he didn't really seem all that comfortable talking about it, but he said, well, I've heard possibly open date Alabama game. And if you count the games, that means LSU is going to play 7 games or so by that point. So it's up to Max Johnson to navigate all those games and not get injured with a guy behind you who's in high school or heading into his senior year in high school a year ago. So that's the predicament. I mean, whether you were rooting for either Max Johnson or Miles Brennan to get the starting job, you wanted both of those guys on the sideline healthy when you kicked off the year against UCLA, and that's not going to be the case. I feel bad for Miles. Certainly, I was at the game in Missouri last year where he threw the touchdown pass to Terrence Marshall Jr. and played the remainder of the game and never knew anything about him being hurt. And then he doesn't take another snap the remainder of the year. So that was very bizarre. But, my hope was that initially that Miles would be back, say, LSU could navigate the UCLA game. Then you got a couple of rental wins, and then maybe he could have been back for, Mississippi State or something like that to have him as a backup. But it doesn't look like that's going to happen. So, Max Johnson, the show is yours.
I know that we do not see a lot during the media availability in that window that they allow us to watch practice, but some of the reports coming out is that the offensive line is is banged up, and they were dangerously thin going in to camp. What are your overall thoughts of LSU going into the season, and what does the offensive line's lack of depth do for your thought of LSU's production this season going into the year?
Yeah, Jordy, I go all the way back to early June when LSU changed their O-line coach. That was surprising. You don't make coaching changes in early June, but that's what happened. And then, everything we've heard about Brad Davis, the guy from Bel Air High School, is that he's coaching them up very hard. He's not accepting mediocrity. He's really pushing them. But I think Coach O talked about last night. They are kind of towing a line and a balance between trying to toughen these guys up in the heat and get them ready to play football games, and then also guys getting banged up left and right. Now, from what you hear, it sounds like, fall camp is a lot like the military, right? They tear you down early, then they build you back up before you kick off the year. So I think they're gonna dial things back in the next week and a half or so, and then hopefully, all those guys are rested and healed, ready to go. And when they're playing out there in 75-degree weather in Pasadena, California, it'll hopefully feel like a breeze. But and then my further question is, not to get too far ahead, but who's going to play offensive line for LSU next year? I mean, you got all these guys who came back this year, and look, they're kids, they're doing the best job that they can, but you can point to several guys on the line and say, where's the development? This guy should be contributing, or this guy should be somebody we can call upon, and it's not happening. So yeah, they've got some injuries there, and they're shuffling people around, and you got the veterans like Deculus, Ingram, and Liam Shanahan, and those guys, but that without a doubt seems to be the biggest concern about the team right now.
Jacques is joining us here, WAFB. Make sure and get subscribed to that YouTube channel over there to keep up with Jacques Talk, which comes out. Jacques, is that weekly? Is that the schedule that you're on there?
Well, at first they were like, do one every Wednesday, and I said, well, let's just do them when I can do them, and we'll put them out. We'll put out a couple of weeks. We got one going out today. We're 16 days away from kickoff, so I interviewed Craig Stelz yesterday, number 16 from the 2007 National Championship team. Still got the locks, Jordy. Still got the long blonde hair. So great conversation with him. That'll be going out today. So we just, I just try to, talk to people when I can.
Trevor Lawrence or Craig Stelz for the best hair in the NFL of all time?
Oof. If Stelz's still rocking it,
that's what I'm saying. The longevity of that.
What is he like? 33 now?
Gotta be.
Jacques? I mean,
he's 10 years younger than me, so that puts him 34.
Wow, that's a hell of a run. I mean, if you're at 34,
yeah.
I mean, I'd hate to call it. I mean, if anybody can, I can, because of just the lack of hair I've got. I mean, it seems like he may be out into the great wide open here. If he's going to go 34 with still hair like that, bro, he might be on the other side of it. Good for Stelz.
K2.
WAFB YouTube channel. Check it out. Jacques Talk coming up. Jacques, you've covered Derek Stingley since high school. This is the year that everybody has talked about in and around his life, his money season, his third year of college football, in which potentially he could be the top defensive back and top defender drafted in April's draft. What do you anticipate from the Baton Rouge native?
Well, Jordy, we had a chance to talk to Eli Ricks a couple of days ago. That was rare. I don't know if we've ever spoken to him, so that was good. And then they brought John Emery also. That was another rare interview. But I asked Eli. I said, look, the talk is you and Stingley on the two corners. This defensive line is supposed to be so deep and so nasty. What's the potential? And he said the potential is best defense in the country. So. They're going to retire Derek's number at Dunham High School for a jamboree coming up. I think only two other guys in the history of the school, which goes back to when it was Chapel Trafton, Sean Cangelosi and Todd Kenshin. I mean, people that met Todd Kenshin or knew him say that he's the greatest athlete they ever saw. From that time period, he could play tennis and win state championships. But they're gonna retire Derek's number. So I'm anxious to see it. I know it's got to be a mental balance with the family of knowing that you're going to be a millionaire in the spring and also playing football for LSU and staying healthy and all those different things. But certainly last year he wasn't thrown out as much, and just the big plays weren't there as much last year. So hopefully we get some more of those big moments this year from him. But certainly, 2019, it just seemed like he was a magnet to the football, especially in that SEC championship game. His 2 interceptions of that game were very pivotal in that blowout.
Jacques works alongside of a legend in Steve Schneider that has been in our community for ever since I was a kid. He covered me in high school when I was playing, and you would always look forward to Friday night Sportsline Friday night. What year is this, Jacques, for Sportsline, and what goes into the preparation of that show, being that a lot of high school scrimmages are tonight, tomorrow night, and then the jamborees start to pop next week for another high school season down here in South Louisiana?
Well, Steve's the best. There's no question about it. He started this show in 1990, and all of us that go on the TV, guys, girls, we get on TV for the first time. And, oh, look at me! Don't I look good? And and people start recognizing you, and he has always been the guy that he doesn't care about FaceTime. He's never been about being a star. It's always been about the content. What can we provide? How much information can we jam into 3.5 minutes, 5 minutes, 6 minutes, 7 minutes, however much time we get on a sportscast? And, we get to cover LSU and Saints and Southern and all this big stuff. But there's no doubt the thing that people come up to us the most about and say, thank you for doing is Sportsline Friday night. And in a day and age where you got social media and all these different things that are covering the quote-unquote big-time stuff, you've got to stay relevant by giving people what they can't see on ESPN and other platforms. And high school football is it. And people rush home on Friday nights to see the show, and there's stories galore. I mean, I don't want to get too sentimental and sound Pollyanna, but one of Steve's favorite stories is a parent came up to him one night, was pretty emotional, and said, I want to thank you for giving our kids back to us. And Steve said, well, what do you mean? He said, well, it used to be after the high school football games, they would go out to a parking lot or go to a party or whatever, and now they come home with us. We cook and watch the show together, and we do it as a family and do it as a team and all that. So those are the stories of Sportsline Friday night, way before I got here, 20 years ago. And he knows these teams. He'll have a list of high school scrimmages, Jordy, that'll take up an entire page when I come in today. We'll get out covering and stuff. So there you go. So yeah, the first week, I think jamborees are a week from Friday. So we'll get going, and it'll be another exciting year, and hopefully a more normal year than last year.
That has always been the difference in this market when you talk about sports being covered. Steve Schneider and Jacques, who has been his longtime guy, who has been alongside Steve, has really just brought high school football into your living room and provided just a different experience, different type of access. And I think, like you speak of, I mean, you guys have just crews everywhere. I mean, it doesn't matter what game you are at, what scrimmage you are at, you'll see WAFB's mic flag just because of the commitment that Steve has made to high school sports and Friday nights. And Sportsline Friday night has become a staple of our. I mean, they've got Warwick Dunn highlights on Sportsline Friday night. I mean, go back as far as the early 90s, man. It just is one of the best programs that our community has. Jacques, the other day I saw, you've done such fantastic interviews, but one that stood out the other day was you talking to David Baker, the Tiger trainer, and y'all are standing next to the cage. And Mike just runs up as if he sees an old friend in Baker and like he wants to hang out with him. I mean, these are some of those images that happen inside of that cage that you see, and you just had, I mean, the perfect shot. They had the camera rolling, and it just captured this moment of amazement. I mean, I was in awe in watching that, in the relationship that guy has fostered with a Tiger, and you kind of bringing that to light. What was that experience like for you?
Well, it's cool. Dr. David Baker does a great job taking care of the Tiger, and he tells me when he parks his truck and gets out of his truck, and Mike can't even see him, but Mike knows it's him. Like he'll pop up and run up to the glass and wait for him. And he also told me that he said Mike was mad at me because we gave him the COVID shot the other day, and the next time I saw him, like he remembered that I fricked him, and so that, wow. So he was kind of a grumpy mood. But yeah, you're right. I mean, it is amazing. We get inside the glass there, get inside the fence, and Mike the Tiger, like a domestic house cat, comes up and they don't call it purring, they call it chuffing, you know, where he just kind of purrs and rubs his head up against the glass. But then also, Jordy, as we're interviewing him, Dr. Baker, a few moments later, Mike the Tiger comes charging and leaps up against the glass.
Right.
And so the doctor says, look, this is not a domestic house cat. This is a 415-pound apex predator. And people, unfortunately, across the world forget that. And, you know, these tigers can snap at any moment, and it's over. So, but it was interesting. Yeah, Stephen Colbert actually took some of our footage and did a spoof the other night with Joe Exotic. I saw Tiger, and he turned it into I saw Vaccinated Tiger. And it was, I know Colbert isn't really some people's cup of tea, but it was a funny kind of bit he did. But yeah, it's just a beautiful, majestic animal. It just never gets old, Mike the Tiger. So.
With that said, if David Baker found himself in the cage, do you think Mike the Tiger does anything? I feel like he could get a couple of head scratches in there. I feel like
no way.
I feel like they're on that level. Look at it. When you watch this video, he wants him to pet him. So I feel like he could, if anybody could survive, you said apex predator, you did that thing. I get that. But I feel like they have a relationship on a level where I feel like if anybody could get in that cage, it's Dr. David Baker for at least a minute.
I asked him, I said, you don't walk in there. And he said, absolutely not.
But
and
the
second he said it was that's the exact moment Mike came charging up and leaped at him. So
you had to give him a hug.
Yeah, right.
That was perfect timing. And I tell you, and one more quick thing. I mean, I know that like on the LSU postgame shows and stuff over the years, like some people have called in and said, why don't they run Mike the Tiger out onto the field like the Colorado
Buffalo? I mean,
and it's funny. The doctor told us all the emails and suggestions he's gotten over the years. Like, it's my daughter's birthday party on Saturday. Can you bring Mike the Tiger out? Or, you know, to get him in the cage, you ought to use one of those cattle prods, those electric shock things to get him. It's pretty hilarious.
You do it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Ed Ogeron isn't the only person second guest on Monday. I'll say that.
Jacques, great work as always, man. Thank you for the time this morning. We'll do this again soon.
Okay. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
You got it. There's Jacques Doucet checking in this morning from WAFB. As Sportsline Friday night is one of those staples and one of those shows that has just made it through everything. Like, still surviving. Yes, it stood the test of time. Exactly.
I can't believe it's cucking kids out of high school parties, though. Like, Dad, come on. I mean, we'll watch it. We'll record it.
I mean,
you know,
DVR.
in this day and age, we don't have to watch it live. I played great.
That's right.
You saw it. I saw it.
I can promise I'll be on the show, Dad.
Well, yeah, and especially if I played well, I got to go out. Like, we got to strike while the iron's hot. You know,
we can do this Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, who knows what's going to happen next Friday? But tonight, they want number 7.
Call the Cat brings up a good point, Lloyd, and it just demolishes your Dr. David Baker theory. I mean, Siegfried and Roy, bro. I mean, who had a better relationship with tigers that showed that to the public than Siegfried and Roy? And one day, a tiger just went tiger on one of them.
They got tired of it.
Now,
I'd say it in little doses. He could get in that cage. It's not a show. It's not something that you do for the internet or for a stage of people. But if Dr. David Baker wants to get in there and give him a couple
just end up
rungs
dead.
behind the ear,
do it.
I would. I would get in there and I would pet Mike the Tiger.
The apex predator would kill you.
God, I would be so nervous, but it would be so worth it to just a little couple head scratches on Mike the Tiger. Who can say that other than David Baker and whoever works for whatever staff that is? I don't know how you get that job.
Vet school.
You could tell me that you did that, and I still wouldn't be
believe
impressed.
you. Well, that's why Siegfried
You know what I
Roy
mean?
had to take the show on the road.
Like,
they got too big for their britches.
I got into the tiger cage and petted Mike. You're a moron.
First of all, you're a liar. Second of all,
Yes.
you're dumb.
Daily, we're brought to you by Novatus. Remember, Novatus is specializing in web app development. They develop web applications used for logistics, supply chain, inventory management, asset tracking, document management. They also are in mobile app development. They develop mobile applications used for tracking assets and employees, chat and SMS communication, field ticketing, order management, image processing, above and more. If you want to get in touch with Novatus, look online at novatus.com. Get in touch with Randall Nachman and his crew as they can help you out today with web design, mobile web design. Get in touch with them. They are the brains and the creative energy behind the new JordyCulottaShow.com We love the new website. It has come out very easy to manage, easy to move around and navigate. A lot of that through the creative vision of Nevadis and through their specialties that they offer over there. Custom support, custom software development for you over at Nevadis. Get in touch with them today at nevadis.com. All right, give me a minute here to reset. We'll come back and close out today's show here. Jordy Culotta Show, driven and powered every day by Go Chevrolet. Papa Earl's, the fine spice, originating right down here in South Louisiana by our guy Mark Pop Norman. Developed it back in 2018 and won Amazon's Newcomer of the Year in 2019. They pride themselves in having 30% less salt and sodium than the leading brands at the same price point. You can find them locally. Look for Papa Earl's at Rouse's, Calandro's, Mathern's, High Neighbor, and more. True Blue Water, true hydration at its finest. Right now, you're only a few minutes away from getting your 5-gallon water delivered to you, just like we are over here at the UDL. All you got to do is log on to truebluewater.com. That's TRU, bluewater.com. The website's fantastic over at truebluewater.com. You can get your service and find out how quick it is. You can schedule a delivery, even hop on the billing system right there at truebluewater.com. TRU, bluewater.com. Go Chevrolet is proud to announce Go Express Auto Sales, the new used car lot located in the capital city of Baton Rouge, Louisiana at 11522 Florida Boulevard. Go Express Auto Sales is online at goexpressautosales.com, or you can search them on Facebook and social media at Go Express Auto Sales, the newest addition to the family of Go Chevrolet. Remember, Go Chevrolet is located down in Laplace, Louisiana, but now welcoming aboard Go Express, the new used car lot located in Baton Rouge, Louisiana at 11522 Florida Boulevard. Gearing up for spring and summer down here in South Louisiana, and you want to keep your lawn maintained during these sunny seasons, get in touch with our friend Blake Abear over at Abear's Lawn Maintenance, where he says, you grow it, I mow it. 225-485-8022, 225-485-8022 is where you can find Abear's Lawn and Maintenance, the official lawn and maintenance company of the undisclosed location. Abear's Specialty Meats, home to the finest boudin in South Louisiana. 2 spots right here in Baton Rouge and out in Prairieville. Stop in and see them in the Dutchtown Shopping Center on Highway 73, or right here in Baton Rouge on Jefferson Highway. Online, abearsmarkets.com, and they're all over social media. You can find them on Facebook. You can find them on Instagram. Abear's combines perfect seasoning with that authentic Cajun flavor. Find out for yourself. Baton Rouge on Jefferson Highway and in Prairieville on Highway 73. abearsmarkets.com. Abear's Specialty Meats, home to the finest boudin in South Louisiana. 2 spots right here in Baton Rouge and out in Prairieville. Stop in and see them in the Dutchtown Shopping Center on Highway 73, or right here in Baton Rouge on Jefferson Highway. Online, abearsmarkets.com, and they're all over social media. You can find them on Facebook. You can find them on Instagram. Abear's combines perfect seasoning with that authentic Cajun flavor. Find out for yourself. Baton Rouge on Jefferson Highway and in Prairieville on Highway 73. abearsmarkets.com. All right, welcome back here to the Jordy Culotta Show live on this Thursday morning as we are wrapping up here. We'll wrap up a little early. Some things we're going to take care of here over the Jordy Culotta Show. Shout out to Jacques Doucet. Shout out to Billy Embody for stopping by here this morning. Appreciate them for being here. Remember, all of our guests via the phone line, compliments of Metropolitan Health Group right now, and confirmed. Jeff Jones and Quincy Wiggins in studio tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. They should be here to start the show.
Maybe bring a little food in.
6'7",
edible arrangement,
271 pounds,
God.
running 4.5 and jumping 37 was the last test numbers we got officially from Quincy Wiggins and his head basketball coach Jeff Jones, who said that this guy is just ready for his senior year. He'll scrimmage Jesuit tonight.
We had pick up a kid and break him.
We had plans of being
Say
there.
those numbers again.
6'7", all of it. 6'7". These are official numbers. 6'7", 271 pounds, with a wingspan of 7'2", is his wingspan, and jumps 37 and runs 4.5.
Well, Wade, what are we doing? I mean, make a spot.
Oh, Will Wade's got him a spot. Will Wade is the best relationship that LSU has on campus. I mean,
I believe it.
LSU is counting on Will Wade to do a lot of the groundwork for. I mean, if Quincy wanted a basketball spot, he could have a basketball spot. But I mean,
Quincy wants an island. He's gonna get an island.
In 5 years, Quincy will have an island.
I mean, look what's tagged on his Twitter profile. It says 1-1, I'm coming for you 2025 or whatever year it is. It's pinned to the top of his Twitter profile. He knows.
What does that mean?
That he's going to go first overall in the NFL draft.
2025,
6'7"
I'm coming for number 1.
Yep.
Yeah.
Is he the... Tyrus is probably the tallest, but he will be the most massive person we've had in studio. How tall is Tyrus? 6'9"?
No, he's like 6'10".
Oh, well, 1 inch. Okay. That matters to some people. No. 6'10".
Absolutely not.
Are you kidding me?
But he's not 270 pounds.
Collis, yeah, I was about to say Collis Temple.
Was a
Collis Temple is a man.
He swallowed that chair.
Unit.
He got up and his chair came up with him. No shit. Like,
well, it's because we didn't have the... People
he
complained
was
about the audio.
He was so big. Like, his body took up like this when he stood up. Like the
just took it
chair
with him.
came up
Oh,
with him.
yeah, I remember.
Remember that?
Well, not only that, it was when we thought it was a good idea in like the heat of summer to like, we just won't run the air conditioner. And College Temple was like, what the hell are y'all doing in here? It's like,
sweat.
this is an experiment.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
He was
And
dripping.
so y'all bitch about the audio. It's because we're trying to live.
A little feisty about that
I mean,
one.
Jesus.
Yeah, no, Quincy Wiggins will be the most... I mean, he's going to look like the Incredible Hulk walking into this...
He's
into
ducking,
this
right?
studio. Oh, yeah, he's ducking, for sure. Are we throwing him a lob at the UDL basketball goal tomorrow morning on film? We're going to have the video recorder.
Yeah.
I mean, I say we get a little content here. Throw him a couple of lobs.
Do you think he would be game for that?
Yeah,
He's gonna
for
dunk on Noah.
Bro, he's 17 years old. He's 6'7", 271. I would run and jump everywhere. You know what I mean?
If you can do it, if you got it, flaunt it.
I mean, if I was at lunch and somebody told me to go deep for the roll, I'd sprint. You know what I mean? Like, just show off.
Yeah,
I mean,
4-3.
just put it right here.
6'7", 270,
That's-
37-inch vertical.
That's first team don't fuck
Yeah, that's a fireable offense if
Well, how
he's not on
about
campus.
Walker Howard has a
7
2-inch.
foot 2 wingspan.
Walker Howard's vertical is 2 inches higher than Quincy.
He's leaping 271 pounds
Crazy.
off the ground. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, the mass that you're moving. His poor knees.
in 20 years. But
Oh,
for the
we
next,
don't worry yet.
but for the next 12,
That surgery's
sit
paid
back
for.
and enjoy because
Yes.
it is going to be fun to watch this cat do anything. I mean,
It's like Zion.
How do you,
Yes,
how
it
do
is
you
Zion-esque.
tell a high schooler to block him tonight?
Zion-esque. I don't know. Especially a 5'9" white kid from Jesuit. You know what I mean? Like, what are you gonna do, man? What are you going to do? I mean, he probably watched tape of Quincy Wiggins last season and has not slept all week. You know what I mean? Like, he's
just looking
probably
at the
been
clock
like,
all day.
Thursday, never come, please. please don't let Thursday get here. I mean, I'm just a nervous wreck to have to block this guy.
Not only Thursday, but all week they're like, hey, you're marking Quincy. You got Quincy, right? Like left tackle. Like, no.
Right.
Nobody has him. Like, I mean, we have to change our entire game plan. Like, nobody's blocking that.
7'2" wingspan.
Everybody,
I mean, he can hit you from here.
He can catch you. He could go across the line of scrimmage and just grab the quarterback. He doesn't even have to get a pass rush. It was when we played Nick Jacobs in high school. That was our mark. And I bet he came over the middle, and I tried so hard. I just put it right on him. And I woke up about 15 seconds later to look back, and he was just still running. And I was like, I gave it all I had. That's it for me.
Man, that's
it for me.
That's the difference.
That just woke up snot all over the visor, and I was like, is he down?
He's still running. That's why you had an Egg McMuffin at the Kappa Sig house a year later, trying to wake up a senior, and Nick Jacobs was going through training camp.
Yeah. And he could kick.
Yes. All right, have a good day. Have a good Wednesday. Appreciate Billy Embody. Thank you to Jacques for stopping by here tomorrow morning. Start your day off with us. Quincy Wiggins, Nathan Velasquez will be in studio. We will talk to Ben Mintz in studio. He's down in Baton Rouge. We will talk to Ben Mintz as usual here. Have a great day. We'll be back with you tomorrow. Driven and powered by Go Chevrolet.